good morning. I'm just trying to reverse out of the drive, and yeah, I seem to be close to the bins. I did some gardening yesterday. If you listen to some of my other episodes, it might give you an indication of what I was doing. It's Monday morning. It's 7:20, a bit later than normal, but traffic looks good according to Google Maps. So there was quite a large tree in the front garden yesterday. Been growing for some time. Anyway, I cut it down yesterday, and I left most of it actually on the ground next to the bins. So the bins are out further than they were when I drove in. So been slightly tired this morning. I had to negotiate them, and it was quite interesting. Thankfully, no bins were hurt, or cars, which is always good. But yeah, so I've moved the mic again a bit further away from me. I know there was some wind noise when I was recording yesterday with the microphone a bit closer to me, and I couldn't work out if it was that the window open or it was the fan in the car itself that was hitting the microphone. So what I've done is I've put it back to where it was. So you probably hear a bit of car noise, hear my fantastic driving skills, the accelerations and the indicators going. And I've ordered a lapel microphone with a little fairy type attachment. I'm not sure it'll actually need it because it comes with a foam one, but when I looked at this little cover, this little fairy thing, it looked quite cute really. It was quite funny, so I thought to myself I wouldn't mind clipping that to the old shirt. I think probably I always have a shirt with a collar and a pocket. It has to have a pocket for my pen, for my ID badge, so I'll probably clip it there with this little comedic ball of happiness. Yeah, I thought it'd be a nice idea, so I'm going to try that. They get good reviews for reducing wind noise. I suppose I should really make the effort for the sound quality to be better. I'm quite happy though there's some background noise. I have a pair of Bose noise cancelling headphones that I got a few years ago, and they're a bit extreme when it comes to noise cancelling. It's like an artificial type of silence, like you'd only get in a recording studio or something. Now, if there's any high-pitched noises around, they do seep in, I think probably by design a little bit, and voices you can just about hear, unfortunately. But it's fantastic on a plane with the deep sound of the engines. It works really well. But if I'm not listening to anything, or if I'm just listening to an audiobook, I find it's a little bit extreme, the silence. Now, I do understand that the later models, the most recent versions, you can adjust the level of silence to personal preferences. I think we always assume we've got used to having a bit of sound, background noise. So yes, I don't want to sound like I'm in a recording studio. I'm not quite sure that the creative juices would flow if I was sitting in a nondescript office building type room with soundproofing and no outside. So so there's always going to be some background noise. I know when I'm actually recording some of these in my kitchen, and I have a computer in there, it's an Alienware PC. It can be quite noisy at times. It's probably about 2010 is the motherboard and the cooling system, and the CPU. Everything else I've replaced, I've upgraded over time. One of the first things to go was the power supply, which isn't unusual. I think I got about 4 years out, 3 or 4 years. My understanding is it's to do with the quality of the caps, the capacitors, and the lesser quality, the poorer quality ones, they sort of bulge and become less efficient. When they're less efficient, then it doesn't work very well. So the power supply was the first thing to go on it. But the other thing as well is I've recently replaced the case, maybe in the last couple of years, that's recent for me, for one with filters on it, because the fans are sort of always going at low speed, and it's surprising just how much dirt there is in the atmosphere. How much stuff we have to filter out when we're breathing is quite incredible. The amount of fluff that builds up. I think it's called fluff. I don't know if there's a more generic term. Dander. I don't know if that's is that dead skin cells. Apparently we seem to shed lots of those. I don't know if that's a good thing. Certainly sounds pretty horrible. But this looks like fluff. Looks like fabric. It doesn't look like skin cells. So whether they pass through, I don't know. Whether they just never get in the first place. So it has a newish cover with these filters. But the fans, they do change speed and obviously noise depending on the load the system's on. And I have noticed that more recently it doesn't really need to be on much of a load for the fan speed to increase. And it does really sound like an aircraft taking off at times. So certainly on the quieter episodes, when I'm a bit more composed in the kitchen, there is still some noise in the background. But I think that's a good thing. Like I said, ambient noise I think is good. Obviously birds singing, the ocean, those sorts of noises are better than the fan of a PC, I suppose. But I do understand that if you're listening to me in headphones, I'm probably going to be quite irritating with those noises. I'm not a big headphone fan. I know I have the Bose. For many years I lived in Spain. I travelled to Spain quite a bit, and they were indispensable. The pain of being on Ryanair, well, that is always a pain. It was the most efficient way to get there at the time, and they were the ones that flew to the closest airport. But for the 2.5 to 3.5 hour flights, the Bose were pretty good. That's pretty much when I got into the old Jack Reacher series of books by Lee Child. I've heard a lot of criticism with Jack Reacher and Lee Child, saying that it's very samey and that every book's the same. And well, I don't have the same criticism. I mean, of course the character's the same, and his traits are the same, and he doesn't look like Tom Cruise, in case anybody was wondering. But I actually quite enjoyed it. So on the journey, I'd wear the Bose, and Bose are quite interesting in the sense of they give you a little card with the headphones. Actually, a few cards. I don't know how many was there because they've all gone now. Because wherever I was wearing them, when members of the general public were around, I would give them a card and say, "Oh yeah, these are nice headphones," because they might ask, they might see the little light, or I might bring it up in conversation. I might say, "Listen, I've got these headphones. I don't listen to these." I think a little commission scheme would have been nice from Bose, but I did get a nice warm feeling about spreading the word about Bose headphones, and anybody who had a go with them, whoever put them on, there's always their expression of wonderment when I just flicked the little switch on the side, and all the noise of the outside world just disappeared.